Every 70 seconds, another American family sits in a sterile room and hears the same three words. You have dementia. By the time you finish listening to this sentence, that number will have climbed higher. And for thousands of them, the cause of that devastation wasn't age. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't bad luck. It was a routine prescription, a common over-the-counter pill, a bottle they trusted, sitting right there on the bathroom shelf. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and for the last 20 years, I have specialized in cognitive health. I've held the hands of patients whose minds slipped away while they did everything right. They exercised, they ate well, they stayed social, and still they faded. I've watched families tear themselves apart with guilt, wondering what they missed. And the answer, more often than they ever imagined, was hidden in plain sight, in the very medications meant to help them. New research is uncovering a terrifying truth. There is a specific class of everyday drugs that can silently sabotage your brain, pulling down memory and learning at an alarming rate. And the people taking them have no idea it's happening. The chemical messenger these drugs attack is acetylcholine. Think of it as the brain's primary filing clerk. It's the compound that helps you lay down a new memory, stay focused, and keep your thoughts sharp. As we get older, our brains naturally produce less of it. So when a drug comes along and blocks it, the impact is devastating, particularly for those over 60. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 9 most common medications linked to rapid cognitive decline. We're counting down from the ones that are quietly overlooked to the one I believe is the most dangerous of all. Number 3 on this list is so common it's practically a household name, prescribed to millions for something that sounds completely harmless. Yet it may be shrinking the memory centers of your brain right now. You'll want to watch for it. Before we dive in, let me ask you something. How old are you, and how many prescriptions are in your medicine cabinet right now? The answer to that second question might be more important than you think. Let's start at number 9. Don't let its place on the list fool you. This first medication is sitting in nearly every medicine cabinet in America. Number 9 is Diphenhydramine. You likely know it by its drugstore name, Benadryl. The small pink pill we reach for to silence a sneeze, to fall asleep, or to soothe a restless child. It costs pennies, requires no prescription, and is marketed as gentle, non-habit-forming relief. But inside your brain, it's doing something very different. It's an anticholinergic. It works by blocking acetylcholine. And the structure that takes the hardest hit is your hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped region where new memories are formed before they are stored. In my practice, I've seen patients take this medication nightly for insomnia. They'd complain of a creeping mental fog, trouble finding the right word, missing appointments. They'd never once connect the fuzzy thinking to the pink pill on their nightstand. The science is unsettling. A 2023 study in the Journal of Geriatric Cognitive Health tracked older adults who used anticholinergic drugs regularly. They were 54% more likely to develop dementia compared to those who didn't. The risk wasn't marginal. It was dramatic. Here is the simple fix. If you take a PM pain reliever, a nighttime sleep aid, or an allergy medicine, read the active ingredient. If it says diphenhydramine, it's Benadryl in a costume. Newer antihistamines like loratadine, Claritin, or Zyrtec don't cross into the brain the same way. They're a far safer choice for long-term use. But as we'll see, that's not the only silent threat. Number 8 is a drug your stomach loves, but your brain quietly pays for. We're talking about proton pump inhibitors. Omeprazole, Prilosec, esomeprazole, Nexium. These are the blockbuster drugs that turn off acid production in the stomach. They are the saviors for millions who suffer from heartburn and acid reflux. People stay on them for years, sometimes decades, because the moment they try to stop, the burning pain comes back with a vengeance. It feels like you're trapped. Here's the part that almost nobody hears. Your stomach needs acid to extract vitamin B12 from the food you eat. B12 is absolutely critical for maintaining the protective sheath around your nerves, including the ones in your brain. Turn down the acid long enough, and your B12 levels drop. Magnesium and calcium also plummet. Starve your neurons of these essential minerals, and you get misfires, confusion, and memory slips that look exactly like early Alzheimer's. In 2016, a massive study in JAMA Neurology examined over 73,000 seniors. Regular PPI users had a 44% higher risk of dementia. The mechanism runs even deeper, with some research suggesting PPIs can raise levels of amyloid beta, the sticky protein that forms the plaques associated with Alzheimer's. If you take a PPI, you need to have a conversation with your doctor. Many people can successfully taper down onto a gentler class of drugs called H2 blockers, like famotidine, Pepsid, which are less likely to mess with your thinking. Simple chewing gum that neutralizes acid, or deglycerinated licorice, can soothe symptoms naturally without the cognitive cost. The goal should always be the lowest dose for the shortest time. Number 7 is prescribed for a problem most people would rather not discuss. It's the bladder drugs, and the one to know is Oxybutynin, sold as Ditropan. It's given to seniors who suffer from that sudden, urgent need to get to the bathroom. It's life-changing for people with an overactive bladder, but Oxybutynin is also a potent anticholinergic. It blocks acetylcholine in the same aggressive way Benadryl does. But unlike Benadryl, this one slips into the brain with ease and plants itself directly in your memory centers. In 2019, the British Medical Journal published a study on over 65s who took strong anticholinergics like Oxybutynin for more than a year. Their risk of dementia was 49% higher. Almost none of them were warned. They were told the pill would calm their bladder. Nobody mentioned it might be dimming their mind. The brain fog gets blamed on age. Families shrug and say, "Well, we're all getting older." It's rarely traced back to the prescription until it's too late. If you take Oxybutynin and you've noticed memory slipping, you need to know you don't have to choose between your bladder and your brain. Newer drugs like mirabegron, Myrbetriq, work through a completely different pathway and don't block acetylcholine at all. They offer the same control with far less risk. Bring it up at your next visit. Number 6 might surprise you. It's one of the most prescribed drugs on Earth. Statins. Simvastatin, Zocor, and atorvastatin, Lipitor. They save lives. They lower cholesterol and slash the risk of heart attacks and strokes. But there's a half of the story that often gets left out. Your brain is nearly 60% fat. It uses cholesterol to build the myelin sheath, the insulation that wraps around your nerves to help signals travel fast and clean. Lower cholesterol too much with a strong statin, and you may be starving your brain of a raw material it actually needs. A 2023 study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that adults over 70 who had been on statins for more than 3 years had a 26% higher rate of mild cognitive impairment. The higher the dose, the worse the slide. Some patients described frightening blanks, a familiar name gone, a conversation they just finished erased, a route they had driven for 20 years suddenly unfamiliar. But here's the nuance. Not every statin touches the brain the same way. Pravastatin and rosuvastatin are water-soluble. They don't cross into brain tissue as readily and are generally considered the safer choice for cognition. If you've been on a statin for years and you're noticing fog, forgetfulness, or confusion creeping in, that's a real conversation to have about a lower dose or a switch. Don't quit a drug that protects your heart on your own. Get the plan right with professional guidance. Let's pause for a second. If this is making you think, take a moment to hit that like button. It helps us reach more seniors who desperately need this information. And while you're down there, tell me in the comments how many prescriptions you're taking right now. I read them all. Your answer could help someone else recognize the pattern. Now back to the countdown. Number 5 is the Benzodiazepines, lorazepam, Ativan, diazepam, Valium, alprazolam, Xanax. These are some of the most prescribed drugs in America for anxiety and sleep. They work by boosting GABA, the brain's natural calming signal. At first, they feel like a rescue. The panic eases. The spinning thoughts stop. Sleep finally comes. But over time, the picture changes. A 2022 study in the British Medical Journal followed more than 8,000 seniors for 6 years. Those who used benzodiazepines for longer than 3 months had a 51% higher risk of Alzheimer's disease. The longer-acting ones, like Valium, were worse because they linger in the body and accumulate in fatty tissue, including the brain. The drug is essentially sedating the whole brain, making it harder to learn new things and stay mentally flexible. People describe feeling flat, moving through fog, and not quite being themselves. The cruelest part is trying to stop. Quitting abruptly can cause rebound anxiety and insomnia that comes back twice as hard, making the pill feel essential just when it's doing the most harm. If you've been on a benzodiazepine for more than a few weeks, do not stop suddenly. That can be life-threatening. Work with a doctor to taper down slowly over weeks or months. Gentler options exist. Buspirone for anxiety doesn't sedate or cloud the mind, and specific forms of talk therapy can bring calm back without the cognitive cost. Number 4 is a single pill prescribed for 3 different problems, and it carries a heavy burden. Amitriptyline, Elavil. It's an older antidepressant, still handed out today for nerve pain, for sleep, and even for migraines. That versatility makes it seem like a wonder drug, but it is one of the most powerful anticholinergics still in wide use. It blocks acetylcholine so strongly that the effect on memory becomes the expected result. In 2015, a large study in JAMA Internal Medicine followed over 3,400 adults aged 65 and up. Those with the highest cumulative dose of anticholinergics, like amitriptyline, over 10 years, had a 54% greater chance of dementia. They got it for pain or sleep, slowly noticed their memory thinning, and just chalked it up to age. It doesn't even take a high dose. A small nightly dose taken for years can quietly erode brain power. If you take amitriptyline, have that conversation soon. For nerve pain, options like duloxetine or gabapentin give similar relief without the anticholinergic weight. For sleep, melatonin or a very low dose of doxepin are far gentler on your brain's chemistry. For mood, newer antidepressants like sertraline or escitalopram are considered much safer. Number 3 is the one I warned you about at the start. It's handed to millions for something that sounds harmless. Paroxetine, sold as Paxil. It's one of the most prescribed of a family of antidepressants called SSRIs, and on the surface, it looks modern and gentle. But here's the detail they rarely mention. Paroxetine is the only SSRI with strong anticholinergic activity. It sets it apart from its siblings like sertraline and escitalopram because it reaches into that same acetylcholine system we've been talking about. In 2021, a large review in Frontiers in Psychiatry looked at older adults on different SSRIs. Paroxetine users showed measurable drops in short-term memory, word recall, and attention within the first 12 months. Seniors on Paxil were 30% more likely to show early signs of cognitive impairment than those on other antidepressants. It's a hard irony. The drug is given to steady the mind, yet it can wear down the very clarity it's meant to protect. The American Geriatric Society placed it on their BEERS list, a formal catalog of drugs considered risky for seniors. If you take it, ask your doctor about moving to a safer SSRI that doesn't carry the same cognitive risk. Supporting your B vitamins, especially B12 and B6, can also help steady mood naturally alongside that change. Number 2 is so quietly prescribed that many people taking it have no idea what kind of drug it even is. Antipsychotics, quetiapine, Seroquel, risperidone, Risperdal, olanzapine, Zyprexa. They were built and approved for serious psychiatric illnesses like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Today, they get handed out off-label to older adults for sleep, for mild restlessness, for the agitation that can come with dementia itself. Powerful drugs meant for severe illness are now used in homes and nursing facilities on seniors who are simply confused or hard to manage. The cost is steep. A 2022 study in Lancet Healthy Longevity followed over 25,000 older adults. Those given antipsychotics for behavioral symptoms were 71% more likely to suffer worsening cognitive decline within a year. These same drugs raise the risk of stroke, sudden cardiac death, and heavy sedation. They work by suppressing dopamine, a chemical tied not only to mood, but to focus, planning, and memory. Drop dopamine far enough, and the brain goes slow and unresponsive. People on these drugs can seem dull, flat, almost absent while their families grieve someone who is still sitting in front of them. If you or a loved one is on one of these, ask the prescribing doctor a direct question. Why was this started? Is it truly necessary? Most behavioral symptoms can be eased without a drug at all through steady routines, less noise, treating hidden pain, and fixing sleep. When medication truly is needed, the lowest dose for the shortest time keeps the harm down. And now, number 1. It's not a single drug at all. It's the biggest hidden driver of everything I've just told you. Anticholinergic polypharmacy. The slow stacking effect of taking several anticholinergic drugs at the same time, with nobody adding up the total. Picture a common situation. A senior takes Benadryl to sleep, Oxybutynin for their bladder, and Amitriptyline for nerve pain. On their own, each one might cause only a small dip, but taken together, they compound. The total burden on the brain skyrockets. In 2022, a study in Age and Aging tracked over 280,000 older adults. Those with the highest anticholinergic burden had a 120% higher risk of dementia within 10 years, more than double. And most of them had no idea they were on anticholinergic drugs at all. No one had ever explained it. When you block acetylcholine from multiple directions at once, neurons start to wither, connections shrink, and the brain settles into a quiet, underpowered state that looks identical to Alzheimer's on testing. Here's the hopeful part, the reason I made this. Drug-induced decline is often reversible if caught early. Lift the burden, and many people get their clarity, energy, and memory back within months. The brain is more resilient than we give it credit for, but only if we take away what's hurting it. The fix doesn't take a miracle. It takes a careful medication review. Sit down with your doctor or pharmacist and go through every prescription, every over-the-counter pill, and every supplement. There are simple scoring tools that add up the anticholinergic load. Once the problem drugs are spotted, you can taper off what you don't need, switch to safer options, and give your brain room to recover. That's the most preventable threat to the aging mind on this entire list. Of these 9, which ones are in your cabinet right now? Have you noticed brain fog or forgetfulness creeping in after starting something new? Tell me below, and tell me you'll ask for a medication review this week. Your answer might be the thing that saves the next person who reads it. And before you go, there's one more place your body hides its warnings. Your medicine cabinet is one, but your hands are another. Your fingernails can flag trouble in your kidneys, your blood, even your nervous system, years before anything else does. Most people never know what to look for. That's the next video. I'll show you the 4 nail signs worth checking tonight. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Stay sharp. I'll see you there.